guys, give the gift of security this holiday season thanks to our friends at NordVPN. With their help, the internet can be free of online threats, censorship, and surveillance. This is more than a VPN. NordVPN's threat protection shields you from malware, trackers, and ads, while their dark web monitor notifies you of any leaks of your credentials. The MeshNet allows you to connect your devices remotely and securely. But my favorite part of NordVPN is that they are privacy-oriented. They don't track or share what you do online, and your traffic is always protected with a robust encryption. One account can protect up to 6 devices with 24/7 customer support and a 30-day money-back guarantee. NordVPN makes the perfect gift for the family. Become safer online with a single click and never stop with the fastest VPN on the planet. Get a huge discount on NordVPN's 2-year plan plus 4 months free when you go to nordvpn.com/Sonnen or click on the link below. David Goggins has been such a terrific addition to the story of Tony versus Patty. Like, people that know Goggins, and Goggins is getting over, man. I mean, Goggins is doing really well. I think he wrote a book, or he did some, and he had The Rock involved and endorsing it. I mean, Goggins is really a mainstream guy. I see him, I'm on the internet 7 days a week. I probably see Goggins 4 days a week. You know how the algorithm works and things come to you. I mean, just to use myself as an example. And I'm the same market as you guys are. Goggins came to a fight and they threw the camera on him. They got stars everywhere. Mainstream guys on actual TV. And they passed him up. They put Goggins on in the crowd. You guys went crazy, right? I mean, he was just like one of these things, what he's doing and the way he's doing it, and with who the MMA fan, is a really natural fit. I tell you this because while you think of him as possibly a Navy SEAL, there's a lot of credit for that. You for sure think of him as a savage triathlete. Am I right? For sure. It's one of those two things, but that's how you think of him. And you don't give him credit for what a master marketer he is. Do you think it's the Navy SEAL? Do you think that's what it is? That's got the books and it's got the tapes and got the videos that are finding themselves to me? Got him put in the front row? Got him put on our cameras? I mean, but do you think it's the Navy SEAL? Because we have other Navy SEALs that come. Do you think it's running 30 miles a day? Do you think it's that? Because there's a lot of other people that run 30 miles a day. He did a great job with marketing. He does a great job with storytelling. And even Goggins being with Tony, I love this addition. I mean, it has really changed the dynamic of this fight. And this fight is looking better and better as each day goes by, but Goggins is on that timeline, and Goggins gets some credit for that. I mean, just to remind you, when Tony versus Patty was booked, you guys resisted. And not only did you resist, you can go back and look at headlines that came out. This was really panned. And then it was found out that this was going to be the feature match. This is going to be the last fight of the card that did not involve a belt. It outdoes everything else on the card, and that was really resisted. And then became the spoiling of the match because you already knew the outcome and the odds start getting all out of whack. Not to mention, it's a passing of the torch, but there's no real win for Pat. I mean, like, the narrative got really weird. Really weird. I mean, we have plenty of fights that do that, but not feature matches on a pay-per-view, right? I mean, this is the feature match aside from title fights. And even including title fights, it's the second feature, but you got to do it in this order. I mean, right, it's one of these things, like this fight ended up working and ended up getting over, and a large part of that is Goggins. But Goggins knows how to tell a story. This wasn't Tony's manager that brought this to your attention. It wasn't Joe Rogan that brought it to your attention. It wasn't Chael that brought it to your attention. It wasn't Tony and his team and his ninjas all over the world that brought it to your attention. It was Goggins. Goggins is the one that had the sense to pull out the camera with Tony in the background, struggling, doing the work. Goggins cuts the promo, lets you know what we're doing. Lets you know how much they're doing. I mean, the workouts they're so hard. These workouts are really, really quite intense. But it's also fascinating to hear that. Not to mention the visual. You have Goggins where this is what he does, is these just very honorable and very difficult, savage, I'll use his words, savage workouts. And then you have Tony, who's amongst the hardest workers that our sport has. And the struggle. And as Goggins lays out what the day looks like, they're closer to the warm-up than they are the end. Which is also this fascinating thing, which creates all sorts of stories. RDA was coming out weighing in on it. When you saw Rogan weigh in on it, it had to do with this, but Goggins was telling a story. Like, there was nothing about this that wasn't very good marketing. Goggins could have popped on. He could have done the car like Sean Strickland on the way home. He didn't have a professional camera crew. He was a one-man army. But we didn't have one single word spoken by Tony. But it was worth 1,000 words, wasn't it? To see that push and to see that drive, to understand that Tony knows something has to be different, to understand that Tony wants it, to understand he's got the eye of the tiger and he's willing to put in the time, whether the skills and everything can come together or not. Behind the scenes, he has not sailed it in. He is not just fighting for a check. And that was done because of very good storytelling. And I don't want you to miss that. Because I do feel if I would have come to you and said, do you know David Goggins? You go, yeah, sure I do. I said, why do you know David Goggins? You likely would have said Navy SEAL or a combination where you would have worked in the workouts. But there's plenty of guys that bike too many miles to make sense a day. And there's plenty of guys that get up and run every day. There's one guy that when you see him, you know why he's there and you know what he does. And that's because he did a very masterful job of telling the story. And more than any interview you've got or any countdown shows or any posters that you've seen, interviews and whatnot and back and forth with actual Tony, the story that Goggins was able to tell us about Tony with no words is a very interesting thing. And it came at the perfect time. And there's always a risk, right? When you put your name on somebody and you're preparing them, like there's a risk. Mike Tyson was very helpful in Francis versus Fury. Just by putting in his name, by saying, I saw him, I trained him, I know what he can do, and I'm even predicting him. Like there's a level of stake to that. And I think it's added to the fight. I think it was very well done.